All right, everyone, we are ready to get started. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our town hall with the Chancellor of Rutgers University, New Brunswick. I'm Tania Castaneda. I'm Associate Vice Chancellor of Enrollment Management, and I oversee undergraduate admissions. So first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate all of the students who are with us tonight who have been admitted, and if you have already made your decision to enroll with us, that's really exciting. Congratulations. Great decision. And it's a big step, we know, but it's a big step in the right direction. I'm very, very pleased to be joined tonight with our Chancellor. He is Dr. Chris Molloy, Chancellor of Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Dr. Molloy, would you like to say hello?
I'm just going to say hello and congratulations to everyone. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you in a little while.
Also very, very happy to be joined by my colleague, the Director of Financial Aid, Brian Barry. Brian, I'd like to say welcome.
Welcome. In overseeing the Office of Financial Aid, we're responsible for institutional, federal, and state aid. So we are here to answer any financial aid questions you have.
Great. So let me tell you a little bit about our structure for tonight. We have an hour together. There's no formal presentation. This is really your opportunity to ask questions of us, but mostly of our Chancellor, what you'd like to know about Rutgers University and the student experience. That said, Brian and I are here to answer admissions-oriented questions, enrollment questions, financial aid questions, and to help you with that too. So to get us started, I'm going to ask our Chancellor to just introduce himself a little bit more to you and tell you a bit about himself. So I'll turn it over to you, Chancellor Molloy.
Thank you, Tani. And it's a real pleasure for me to do this event today. It's not something I normally am asked to do, and it's a very nice thing. You know, one of the aspects of talking about Rutgers is the fact that I actually am an alum of Rutgers. In fact, I have 2 degrees from Rutgers. You know, I have an experience, I think, like many of our applicants for the university. I was born in Brooklyn, you know, I'm a local guy, and raised in New Jersey, went to public schools, and the first in my family, you know, a family of 4 boys, the oldest, to really go to college. So I'm a first generation student at Rutgers, as are 20 or 25% of our current student body as well. And really it was something I knew I wanted to do, but it was the place I could afford to go to back then. I went to pharmacy school. I was really interested in chemistry. My mother talked me into trying the pharmacy program. I kind of got interested in it, became a pharmacist. Never thought I'd go to graduate school, never thought I'd be a real scientist. But funny things happen when you have an education, and I came back here, really got excited about cancer research, did postdoctoral training at the National Cancer Institute, and then I worked for many years in the pharmaceutical industry as a scientist working on new drug discovery, and was recruited back here 13 years ago to Rutgers to be the dean of that school I went to many years before. So it's been an all Rutgers ride, and it's an example of the kinds of things that can happen to students that go to a big university with lots of opportunities, and we'll talk a lot more about that here. Another thing I'd like to say this evening, though, is, you know, I realize this is a really unusual year. It's an unusual year for the world, for the United States, for New Jersey, for our university, for all of you actually who have probably left your high schools to finish up remote education. You're missing your prom. This is something that we're all responding to. I know there's a lot of questions that will come up about how we're going to handle the fall, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. But I just want to say that you know, we will be here for you in the fall. This university is 254 years old and will still be going strong in another 254 years. And we're making plans to make sure that there's no significant interruption in your progression to degree. And I look forward to having many of you come to campus.
Thank you, Dr. Molloy. So you've provided me a very nice segue here for some of the questions that I'm already seeing coming up about the fall and what will it entail, what lies in store for newly enrolled students, and how is Rutgers preparing and ensuring that we'll have an education to deliver to them this fall.
So this is the $64,000 question for the whole nation, actually. A couple of points to be made here. Number one is that we will be open, fully open, and we will be providing a top-notch education in the fall. When I say fully open, though, it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have a normal on-campus experience based upon the health conditions at the time, what our governor asks us to do, what the nature of the pandemic is at the time. But I can tell you that we are planning to completely upgrade our ability to deliver remote education. We've been able to pivot to this remote education to some extent this spring, to get our students to move on to their commence and to move on to their next year. But we know that we really have to upgrade what we're doing here as well. However, we're really taking advantage of the expertise that we have here. You know that I have a medical background, but we have outstanding medical schools at Rutgers Nursing School. We developed the saliva testing protocols for the nation, actually the first one in the country to develop the protocol for COVID. We plan on using all of our assets, our testing capabilities, our medical knowledge to be completely safe about when we bring students back on campus, at what level, how we provide for safety, and how we provide for an enhanced educational experience as we move towards normal in the coming months, or more towards the spring of 2021. And so I'm very optimistic that we'll have a very satisfying, albeit potentially remote initially, education. We're certainly leaving the possibility open that we could be more fully engaged in the fall, but we have to be, not practical about the knowledge that we have with this pandemic. A couple other things I will note. We're part of the Big Ten. We play basketball and football against those schools that are really our peer institutions in this country. The Michigans, the Penn States, the Illinois, the Minnesotas. These are all schools that, as chief academic officer for the flagship campus in New Jersey, I meet with on a regular basis. All of those universities are absolutely doing the exact same thing that we're doing. We talk together about best practices. We're all planning about how our sports seasons will work. We're all planning on how we can provide the best education for our students, and we do share a lot of those best practices. I can tell you, coming here, you'll be part of this great Big Ten collection of schools that compete academically and athletically, but really collaborate a lot academically as well. So there's really going to be lots of interesting opportunities no matter what we do in the fall in terms of opening. It's always safety first, though.
Thank you so much for that. I think a closely related question on all the students' minds, those of you who are still thinking about whether Rutgers will be your choice, is today is May 1. It's the National Candidate Reply Date, and we do have some questions about whether or not you still need to indicate to us your intention to enroll today, May 1. And the answer to that is yes. We are asking that students do indicate their intention to be with us in the fall. Today, you have until 11:59 p.m. tonight to let us know. And I want to say, though, that we do understand, as we just talked about, that we're encountering circumstances that we've never encountered before. We understand that things are changing very rapidly for you and for your families. And so should something impact that decision after May 1, we are going to work with you. We will be here throughout the summer to listen to you and to hear out if things have changed and that means another decision needs to be made in the fall. We understand, and so we're going to be very flexible with you. But yes, if you are interested and intend to be with us in the fall, please do indicate your intention to enroll today by 11:59 p.m. So we know we have many students with us, Dr. Molloy, who are thinking through this decision with their families very carefully tonight. What would you say to them in terms of, in your opinion, why is Rutgers the best choice for them? Why should they decide to join us?
There's lots of great things to say about Rutgers, and I'm happy to say that. First of all, I want to just reinforce what you just said earlier. We're looking to be as flexible as we can be about how this special season opens. Actually, this is going to be hopefully a once in a lifetime situation for all of us. And we want to make sure that we respond in a very transparent and open way and keep communicating with all of our incoming students and their families moving forward. In terms of Rutgers itself, though, there's the thing that's really missing this year is the ability to visit us in person and be on campus and see what a special place this is. So, Rutgers is a very large flagship campus surrounding the town of New Brunswick, and we have this is not an urban campus, although we have close proximity to the trains to New York and Philadelphia, of course, and to the town of New Brunswick. But we also have horses on campus. We also have an agricultural school that supports ag missions throughout the state of New Jersey. We have a science campus that's near where we play football, that has all of the most sophisticated scientific equipment and training opportunities for those in the STEM fields. We have a campus on the Livingston campus, which has got really modern buildings, our business school, and where we have a lot of the professional school offerings. So Rutgers is really this dynamic place connected by this huge bus system, free bus system, that allows students to really sample and be part of many different environments, many different disciplines, meet students from every part of the world, every part of the United States, a huge amount of diversity. And it's really that kind of crucible of a place where one can interact with many other students and faculty and have worldwide projects that really allows this to be, makes this a real special place. Students come here to, like I did, to find themselves, to find their friends. I know of many top students that have come to Rutgers thinking they're going to major in law, and they wind up being double majors in mathematics and computer science. And the fact that we have that breadth of offerings here and experience in training students in a whole variety of areas really makes it a really important place, a place like Penn State or Michigan or Minnesota. It's really the top public university in the New York City area by far, and it's a really good place to join.
Absolutely, all great reasons to become a part of the Rutgers family. So thinking about May 1 and this decision and the fact that things are sort of rapidly shifting, Brian, I'm seeing questions about, what if something changes with my family circumstances after, how might that affect my financial aid? How might I go about communicating that to you? So would you mind taking that question?
Sure. So we've heard from a lot of you. This is, like the Chancellor said, an unprecedented time. Very students really impacted financially. So we're hearing about, loss of employment, reduction in income, loss of business revenue and income. So all of those factors we will consider and re-review your financial aid award. So the process at Rutgers, we call it change in family circumstances. So when you filed your 2018 FAFSA, when you filed your FAFSA for the 2021 academic year, we asked for your 2018 tax information. So basically we would look and see what 2020 will now look like for you if you've had reduction in income in any areas. Once you file the FAFSA, you receive an EFC, which is your expected family contribution. That will be recalculated to determine if you're eligible for, if you're an in-state student, additional money from the state. And for everyone else, it would be additional grants or need-based funding. So if you go to our financial aid website and click on forms, in the 2021 academic year section, you will log in and see change in family circumstances, submit your documentation, and typically we turn those around in about 2 weeks.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Seeing some questions about housing, and that does give us an opportunity to talk through a few things. I want everybody to be aware that we have moved out the housing deadline. There is a housing and dining application that students will complete if they intend to live on campus after they enroll. That new date is July 6th, and we changed that again to allow for more space, and because we understand that we need to be flexible, and we understand there's a lot of planning happening on the part of families right now. Brian, financial aid related, you know, what if a family had intended to live on campus but has now decided that it's in their best interest for the student to commute? How might that affect their financial aid?
Sure, so we definitely would like to know. So we have a contact form right on the financial aid homepage where you could let us know your plans. Sometimes if you tell your recruiter, they will get that information to us. What we do is we will recalculate your cost of attendance. So it will impact what your direct and indirect costs would look like. Typically, the cost of attendance will have tuition and fees, room and board, housing, additional fees, miscellaneous items, books. So that will be adjusted. Typically, it doesn't affect financial aid awards depending on if you are awarded up to the cost of attendance, but we would review that with you and send you out an updated financial aid award letter so you would know your exact costs and what to budget for.
Great, thank you for that. A question that we've also seen come up related to sort of tuition structure is, you know, if in fact we're going to be remote, do we still need to pay room and board? And if you're not living on campus and we are in fact having a remote experience, no, you know, that wouldn't be something that we'd be charging students for. Related to that, though, there are some questions about that, which I'll ask Dr. Molloy to illuminate us on, about sort of tuition. You know, what will it look like for the new academic year? What if we're in person versus online? How might that shift things from a tuition perspective?
And again, yes, thank you, Tania. And again, we've certainly made decisions that we are not going to raise tuition. Tuition is frozen this year compared to last year. Typically, we have a cost of living increase for our tuition rates, but we think that that's not the right thing to do this year. Again, because of this unusual situation, you know, we are committed to developing and delivering as high quality remote education as necessary, to make sure that students who started in the fall at Rutgers will not lose any time towards graduation and still have the experience to the best that we can deliver it remotely, with thinking about how we can slowly wake the campus up and bring students on to the campus, or at least have some level of even housing on campus when we start the fall. Of course, it's a huge effort for our university to pivot to delivering really high quality online education. It's going to be a big lift for all of the faculty over the summer. People are very excited about doing it, of course. You know, we need to do whatever we can to get this nation turned around and get us on the right track. And I think, you know, keeping the tuition the same as it had been, and making sure that our quality is there is really important. Again, though, I'd like to stress that the thing that's really important to me is to make sure that students have the right experience when they get here, that they can graduate on time, that they can take advantage of the multiple multidisciplinary projects and opportunities they have here to track into a master's degree fast if they would like, or get some research experience, or get some job experience while they're here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of future questions.
Great, thank you. Related to housing, I see another question about, what if I paid the housing deposit intended to live on campus, but my family circumstances make it such that I will need to commute. The Residence Life and Housing Office, same as us, we're being very flexible. We are entertaining refunds if these circumstances should arise for you. So you just need to reach out to us and we'll help you. We're seeing some other questions related to next steps after enrollment, understandably, what comes next. Once a student enrolls and pays their $150 enrollment fee, which is required, you're given access to something called the My Rutgers dashboard, which is a web-based platform that all of our students at Rutgers use and leverage. And what this does is kind of spells out the next steps for you. Things like filling out your housing and dining application, registering for new student orientation, which in fact this summer will be a virtual experience. In a traditional year, we'd have you on campus staying overnight, but for your health and safety and in the interest of that, we have a great virtual experience plan that I think will be very exciting. The My Rutgers dashboard is also going to give you access to next steps regarding how to connect into your academic school where you're actually going to pursue your major. So you can take placement tests and sign up for that. Those are online and easy to register for. And then you'll be able to connect with an academic advisor. I see some questions about how will I be advised and when will that happen? And that happens after you make the decision to enroll. Moving on to maybe a fun question that I see. I do wish that we could all have you on campus and have you live and in person to see the beautiful landscapes that you see behind all of us. We will instead try to bring a little bit of it to you. I'm going to ask Dr. Molloy to just tell us about some of his favorite spots on campus. Where are the best places to go?
It's a very large campus, and then there's these great spots all around the city of New Brunswick as our campuses are arrayed. Actually, on this picture that you're seeing me on, I'm sitting in front of my office building, which is the old Queens building, which is the oldest building on campus, and I actually have an office on the second floor of that building, which is it's an administrative building. It was built in 1809. Actually, and is in that whole quadrant where that building is located is one of the most beautiful spots at Rutgers, and one of my favorites. But if I was really there and looking out from the gate that's right behind me, I would be looking across the Voorhees Mall where we have the Zimmerli Art Museum, and this is where students between lectures hang out and play Frisbee, and it's really one of the most beautiful parts of the College Avenue campus, one of the Rutgers campuses. And if you just stroll down that way past the Paul Robeson Memorial and the Willie the Silent statue, you quickly come to the Rutgers Honors College, which was built just a couple of years ago, and the new academic building. These are two beautiful new structures. Of course, our Honors College is really one of the outstanding new buildings on the campus, where 500 students, come freshman year to live and learn with some faculty there, and the quality of those students is just outstanding. The average of the freshmen have SAT scores that are 1,500 or so, maybe a little over 1,500. If we compared those students to other schools, as a standalone university, there are only a handful of schools in the country that have students with SAT scores like that. They would be things like Caltech and MIT, and that really has allowed us to really recruit some of the top students in actually the country and in New Jersey, of course, to come to Rutgers. But there are really special places all across the university, as I said, and I would definitely suggest that that students look at the virtual tour videos that are on our website. You can see the Cook Douglas campus where we have horses and a lot of open spaces. You can look at the Livingston campus with our business school and all of the other beautiful dorms and the best dining hall. And of course, the science campus on Bush. I'll also share with you that I've had my 2 children go to Rutgers, at least that was their choice. I didn't insist they come. My youngest daughter is a junior, and she's the one who's giving me the updates on how remote education is working. And she's been pretty happy, even though she really misses her friends and being on campus, like I'm sure many of you in high school miss your friends and being in functions. But she tells me that her favorite dining hall, of course, is the one on Livingston. But she really does enjoy the College Avenue campus and a lot of those spaces I talked about before. Chip off the old block.
That's great. And Brian, I think you have a favorite spot on campus too, right?
I do. My favorite spot is around it's the yard. So right on College Ave, right across from where the chancellor's offices were, the picture is behind him. So typically my staff and I will go there, go to Starbucks, grab a cup of coffee, sit outside, come back to lunch. So that's a great place. A lot of activities, students are gathering, really good place to be.
So actually, Brian, that's where my daughter's apartment is. So that
Okay.
yard is a whole apartment complex, or most apartments, and it has a huge, as you alluded to, a huge outdoor television screen that shows different things in different concerts or movies or Rutgers games, and it is a really special place on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, it's a great space on campus. I think one of my favorites is Douglas, where the women's residential college is. When I first came to Rutgers, I worked for Douglas, and it still feels like home on the Rutgers New Brunswick campus for me. I would say it's one of the, it's very bucolic. There's lots of trees and flowers and older, wonderful buildings that really have make it have a college campus feel.
And Tania, it's interesting that you mentioned Douglas, because that concept so Douglas used to be a women's college as part of Rutgers history. The independent colleges that had been part of the complex down here were all integrated into Rutgers University. And just a few years ago, we brought all the medical schools from New Jersey into Rutgers. But that Douglas residential college, that experience for young women who choose to be involved there really gives them a lot of opportunity to study together, to be in very interesting multidisciplinary environments. And it's really done extremely well for many women who choose to sort of be part of that Douglas. You're in it. It's like a big club to be in. It's a big, culture in itself, but also branches into the whole university. It's really been very successful and very unique for Rutgers.
It definitely is. And it's one of the many sort of community within the communities of Rutgers where people kind of find their niche and kind of click in with others who are like-minded.
Yes.
So we have a few more questions here, more related to financial aid and student accounting. So Brian, if you could speak to, when did tuition bills get released? How might I sign up for a payment plan? That would be really helpful.
Sure. So typically, the Student Accounting Office will send out bills mid to late July. You may actually receive them a little earlier this year, since the tuition and fee schedule will be set from this current academic year. Once term bills are released, there will be additional information about payment plans. There are a few different options of payment plans that you could spread over the term or even the full academic year. In addition to that, we receive a lot of questions about mandatory health insurance. The health insurance charges will be on the term bill, and that is a per semester rate. If you do have health coverage, which the majority of our students do, you would just waive out of that. submit a copy of your current health insurance information, and then that's removed from the bill. So that's kind of one of the questions we get often. But you should see that mid to late July, and the payment plan options would be included after all financial aid is deducted.
That's great, thank you. I see a question just about, is there anything else we need to do to indicate our enrollment other than paying the enrollment fee? That fee is your indication and sort of the solidification of having your seat in the class. And there's not much more that you need to do to indicate to us that you're enrolling. You will get an email from us a few days later that invites you to the My Rutgers dashboard, so you can take some of those essential next steps we talked about. Another question that I see coming through that I think is probably on every parent's mind, in addition to students, is, you know, what's after Rutgers education for my child, for my students? You know, what are they going to be able to leverage? What kind of results, you know, can we expect from having this degree? So Dr. Molloy, I'll ask you to field that.
As a parent, actually, I can understand that exactly. And really one of the aspects of education that I've really focused on in my 2 years in this role now is really to develop ways that students can get experiential learning while they're in the university. That is, that they can touch research opportunities while at Rutgers, or touch internships or co-ops with companies that surround us at Rutgers. And so we have developed all variety of tracks of what students can do. So for example, there are many ways that one can shorten their time to a more advanced degree. If they want to, if they do extremely well in their undergrad, they can track into a medical school degree and shorten the time to get a medical degree, or to get one of the health professions degrees that we now offer. We have one of the top physician assistant programs and doctors of physical therapy programs in the country, actually as part of Rutgers. One of my daughters took advantage after she spun her undergraduate degree in the School of Arts and Sciences, and went after her junior year to get a master's in one more full year in the Graduate School of Education and Special Education. And she now has a job at the Educational Testing Service in Princeton. And then of course, we have been really working on career exploration and success opportunities. That's what we call our career services group at Rutgers. And really identifying pathways that students can train in the summer and do internships in a variety of places. Of course, there are companies all around us. You know, one of the benefits to being sort of in this area, close to New York, close to northern New Jersey, is the fact that, you know, all of these Fortune 100 companies are around. Johnson & Johnson is a big employer. There are many opportunities for internships and training. And this is something that we need to emphasize. You know, it's a big investment to go to a university. One needs to, it's not just an ivory tower. One needs to learn practical things. That said, it's really important to have a well-rounded education to be able to write, read, and really appreciate education broadly, not just necessarily be a specialist, so, for example. And of course, because of the breadth of our offerings, we offer all aspects of that. Just a new idea that we have this year that came out of my academic group, we've started an Innovation, Design, and Entrepreneurship Academy. We call it the IDEA, IDEA. And really it's identifying a cohort of students that really want to work on a big world problem. You know, and work in a team, working with entrepreneurs. And you'll learn everything from really what it's like to actually start your own company, what it's like to work with venture capitalists, what it's like to work on a team project that might be focused on, you know, climate change or new energy sources, or you know, oceanographic projects, or any variety of engineering projects that one can think about. The business school is very plugged into this as well. So we're really trying to give students hands-on tools, not just rote education, where they can real world experience, so that when they leave Rutgers, they can have a successful outcome. And quite frankly, our outcomes and our graduation rates and time to graduation are really among the best of our peer institutions. And so there again, really are really tremendous opportunities for students at the university.
I'm very glad you brought up the IDEA program because we had a question about it specifically. So students are hearing about it. You can learn more about the Innovation Design and Entrepreneurial Academy. It's a link off of the Provost website. If you just go to rutgers.edu and type in IDEA program, it should be one of the first couple links. And it's a very exciting program. And it brings up another point. You know, I see questions about, well, if I'm not in the honors college or I'm not in honors, in one of the honors programs in one of the schools, you know, am I going to be able to do research with faculty? Am I going to be able to take advantage of co-ops and internships? And the answer is absolutely yes. There are many programs like the IDEA program on campus, like our Aresti Research Center, which pairs faculty who are looking to work with undergraduates in their labs and on their research together so that they can have those experiences. So, you know, if you are a member of the Honors College, you've been invited, congratulations to you. If you've been invited to one of the school-based honors programs, congratulations to you. But, you know, there's many other students who are having many other experiences on campus and availing themselves of a very, very similar scholarly opportunities. So it's definitely there for you. I want to move back to Brian because we're getting some questions about health insurance and how does that work and how to waive that. If you could illuminate on that, that would be great.
Sure. So you will see that mandatory requirement, as I had mentioned on the term bill. You can opt to waive out if you do have, if you do currently have health coverage. You would just make a copy of your health insurance card, upload it, and then we would take those charges off right after the term bills are sent out. So those update overnight. So any additional charges, additions, subtractions, additional financial aid would update the next day.
Okay, great, thank you. Seeing some questions too about whether or not admissions is going to consider if you have classes that have been translated into pass-fail instead of grade, letter grades or numeric grades this spring. Yes, you know, we totally understand, you know, the position that high schools, community colleges, four-year colleges, and the measures that they've had to take. We've offered the same to our students here to be passed, no credit. So don't worry about that. We will recognize those classes as completed and fulfilled. You might also be wondering, you know, how am I going to get the final transcript to your office, to the admissions office, you know, if my school is still closed. Again, we understand that as well. We do require final transcript and proof of graduation. As you all know, you filled out the self-reported academic record, and we'll look at that final transcript against what you reported to us. But we completely understand that, you know, if it's not possible to get this document to us by a certain date, we'll be here to work with you, you know, throughout the summer to make sure that that we get the documentation that we need. So don't worry about that. Okay. Also, seeing some questions about the possibility of deferring. You know, what if I want to defer my offer of admission? So this is something that we are actively discussing right now. So everyone is aware, first-year students are entitled right now to defer their admission for a full academic year. So this would be from fall 2020 to fall 2021, but we are exploring whether or not a spring entry or a deferral for just one semester to start with us in the spring is a possibility. For transfer students, right now, transfer students are not permitted to defer their admission, but again, we are actively discussing whether or not this could be a possibility for transfer students too. So, so stay tuned, there will be more information forthcoming on that. Go ahead, Dr. Molloy.
Yeah, I think we're also looking to make sure that the next summer offerings might be as robust as possible. If we do have some deferrals, we could make up some of those credits in the summer, next summer. Again, the theme here for us is to really be flexible, to respond to these difficult times with as much flexibility at Rutgers as we can provide.
Yes, absolutely. So a question for you, Dr. Molloy. You know, that the footprint of Rutgers has changed so much. There's been so much exciting development from places like the Yard, which we talked about, to new academic buildings for arts and sciences, engineering. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the exciting types of developments that are happening on the campus that are evolving us ever?
So, you know, the interesting thing is I have a perspective that many of my senior colleagues at Rutgers don't really share, in that I went here back in the 1970s, actually, as a student. I went here when we had a Final Four basketball team. And I know that, you know, sports has been kind of up and down since I left back then. But boy, it's certainly on the upswing right now. And so, you know, we've talked, you mentioned about buildings, we've talked about the Honors College and the Yard, and really it's been a tremendous amount of building here in the last 5 years. But the other exciting part is the social part, is the enthusiasm that students bring to our activities on campus, be they intercollegiate sports or intramural sports. We continue to have a long-term campus plan to upgrade the campus and to take down some of our older buildings and really create some new spaces for students. And some of this will happen in the years that you come here, despite the pandemic. You know, we'll have to delay things for a year or so, but there'll be many more positive changes. I also I have to emphasize that it really is a fun environment to be in. You know, a campus that has 45,000 students on it. You know, we have one of the largest residential on-campus housing in the country. That will all happen at some point, and the enthusiasm we have during football games and during basketball games. We're going into this year with the men's and women's basketball teams both ranked in the top 25. With our new coach coming back, and with the top 10 recruiting class in the country, playing in the Big Ten, playing against all those famous institutions. It's a really exciting time, actually, from a student's perspective, despite, you know, to go along with the difficult academics and all the different offerings we have. And so really it's a fun environment to actually be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know there's some folks who joined us a little bit after the start, and I'm seeing more questions about what does the fall look like, how are we preparing, what are the, you know, what's the range of possibilities, and some questions too about, you know, what we might be doing to keep students healthy and safe amidst what we're experiencing, Dr. Molloy.
Right, and some of those might not have heard about by introduction as well. So you know, I'm a research scientist and a you know, pharmacist by training, cancer research scientist, and very familiar with the ongoing pandemic, as are my colleagues across Rutgers in the medical fields. So, you know, like every university, like the governor of New Jersey, who I know pretty well myself, you know, safety first for us. This is a very serious pandemic. It's not something that is just gonna just disappear overnight. And so we really are paying attention to making sure that whatever we do in the fall will be safe. It is very likely that we will not be completely remote. That is, we will have some on-campus housing potentially, and some on-campus experiences in terms of the classroom. But they'll be at a safe distance and with a lot of cleanliness and attention paid, probably with masks, for example, and things like that. But we really have to pay attention to what the pandemic looks like, what the incidence of COVID is, and what we're allowed to do from a state perspective. We will come out of this pandemic. Okay, I am convinced that we'll have a vaccine in the not too distant future. It'll set a world record for having a vaccine. But my monitoring of the medical progress going along, and of course, Rutgers is in many ways a leader in testing. We're the ones that developed that saliva test. We'll be using a lot of those modalities to be able to make it safe for our students and visitors to be here at some point, but it will take some time. No matter what, though, we are committed to delivering a high quality educational content, whether it's remote, online, or in person, or some hybrid mixture of those in the fall. There may not be the sports and to be able to attend sporting events. We may not have football, or at least football with fans in the stands in the fall. It certainly might be possible to bring the teams back and have them tested and be safe, but I think it will be unlikely that we'll be able to have football with fans in the stands. And there's a possibility that sports might be pushed off to the spring, and we're discussing that with the NCAA and with our Big Ten colleagues. I also want to remind everyone, I think I did that at the beginning of our discussion, that we are very aligned with the other schools that are in part of the Big Ten, academically as well as athletically. These are the Michigans and the Penn States and the Illinois and Indianas and Minnesota, et cetera. And when you come to Rutgers, you come to be part of that collection of the top public research universities in the country. And we are that flagship university in the New York area. So I hope that answers many of those questions that you have about about the fall. And we'll be keeping everyone updated as we go along in a very transparent way about what's going to happen.
Absolutely. As soon as we are understanding of what we expect for the fall, we'll be communicating that. The admissions office will be communicating that to everyone who's enrolling with us. So thank you very much for that update. Brian, switching over to financial aid, we're getting a lot of questions about loans, and wondering if you could just talk about loans, how do they work, maybe how do they differentiate from grants, and just sort of explain that financial aid package a little bit more for our families.
Sure. So the financial aid offer letter that was sent to you could have a variety of awards. Some could be scholarships or merit-based awards. Some are need-based, based on your expected family contribution by filing the FAFSA. Some awards could be through the state, and others you would be packaged a loan for $5,500. So every freshman is eligible for $5,500. What determines that based on your FAFSA filing, whether a portion of that will be subsidized, where the interest is deferred while you're in school, or unsubsidized loan where the interest accrues while you're in school. So every student is eligible for $5,500 in the federal loan. If you were looking for additional loans outside of that, we still recommend federal first. Take out your federal before looking to any private lenders. We do have a private lender list on our website, and a really good tool to help you, since we don't have any preferred lenders, a really good comparison tool to help you compare which one would work best for you and your family. I highly recommend for parents, if you're looking to fill the rest of the gap per se in the cost of attendance, is to look at the parent loan option through the federal government. Student loans, federalstudentloans.gov is studentloans.gov is the site that has all of the federal loan borrowing information for parents. Those are fixed interest rates for the life of the loan, flexible repayment options. Soft pull on your credit, does not really look at income. So most of our families in New Brunswick get approved for those. If you've been impacted by COVID-19, loss of employment, it's possibly affected your credit in some way, the parent loan is a great option as well, because even if you are denied for the parent loan, the student will still receive an additional $5,000 in an unsubsidized loan in their name. So a lot of flexibility there. payment plans, and then use our contact form to contact our office for any additional needs, and we can see what's available for you.
Thanks, Brian. There was a follow-up sort of specific question about the Scarlet Promise grant. Do you just want to explain what that is?
Sure. So the Scarlet Promise grant is a need-based financial aid award that is given by the institution. It is based on expected family contribution, FAFSA filing priority date. So we do have a filing date of December 1st for all of our need-based awards, because the institutional pot of money runs out fast. So we award kind of a first come, first served basis there. But it is, those are institutional funds directly from Rutgers.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another fun question for Chancellor Molloy. Students and families want to know, sort of, in your opinion, what are the things that they should really absolutely take advantage of as a Rutgers student? What are the things that they just should not miss, in your opinion?
Well, there's a long list to talk about in that regard. It's going to a university this size, with this many interesting opportunities, allows you to really kind of figure yourself out. There are, hundreds of different student organizations to belong to. There are different clubs. There are events that we have on campus, homecoming events, of course, and sports, but also the dance marathon, which this year we normally have a 2-day fundraising event for Embrace Kids, which benefits children with cancer and their families. This year we had it virtually, and we raised as much money as we would have in the live event, more than $1 million. It's really one of the most impressive events that we have on campus every year. The thing that about going to a university like this is it's where a young person, and I can still recall when I went to Rutgers back then, and it was not as big as it is now, where you actually you discover yourself. You discover the kinds of things that you like to do, the kinds of people that you like to associate with. You can try things, you can try majors, you can try different minors, and if you don't like them, you can switch. And I think it's the thing that my daughters have found when they've been here to be beneficial. They both started in the School of Arts and Sciences, where you have an untold number of different majors in humanities or the sciences that you could be in. My junior year daughter now has decided to be majoring in sociology with a minor in creative writing, and that's the kind of thing that you can discover for yourself. So really, the thing you don't want to miss is the experience of immersing yourself into this environment. Actually, it's not just one event; it's that. But I think you should definitely also catch one football game and watch the knight ride his horse in through the tunnel, which is really one of the most exciting things at Rutgers, actually.
That is really exciting. Yes, it is. So I have a few questions about what if I was recently admitted from the wait list, as in, just this week or last week, and you're awaiting your financial aid package. We are running financial aid packages. Brian, you might be able to speak to this, frequently for new students who have just recently been admitted. I'll also say that if you were admitted April 24th or after, you do have a full week to make your decision, regardless of the May 1 date today. So there is an exception to the May 1 candidate reply date for the students who were just recently admitted. Brian, do you have anything else to add about when the students might expect their financial aid package?
No, I was going to say that. So if you received your admissions decision, we definitely guarantee that you would receive your financial aid offer letter within a week. So it could be that same week or early the next, but you should receive it as we're running them more frequently now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's also some questions about work study and how does that work? And could you enlighten us on that, Brian?
Sure. So kind of fun fact, in New Brunswick, we have about 4,000 students working on campus, and that is federal work study and non-work study. If you were awarded a federal work study award, it will be on your financial aid offer letter. Underneath that, there will be a link to fill out a job application. So we're asking basically a few questions about your preference. You know, do you prefer working in one of our recreation centers? Would you like working in the library, one of our research sites? And then we would place you accordingly. So throughout the summer, we have staff who are matching jobs to preferences on the job application. And then we would send you another link with actually your job placement and who your supervisor is, so you can contact them as we will be preparing for the fall. So if you do have a federal work study award and you haven't filled out your job application, please do. And most of our students work about at least 10 hours a week. 5 to 10 hours a week. Staff are very flexible around your schedule, around exam time. So it's a really good way to be connected to campus. That's how I started in financial aid, working on campus as an undergrad. So I definitely recommend you to fill it out if you've been awarded.
Agreed. And I should mention too that, you know, there are plenty of students who work on campus who are not federal work study. There's a whole separate job board for jobs on campus that are non-federal work study. Usually there's a lot of jobs being posted leading up to the fall semester in the August and September time frame. And so there are plenty of opportunities to work on campus. It's certainly a great way to, as Brian said, get connected into the community, get connected with staff or faculty on campus who are going to be really important resources for you as you continue your time at Rutgers. I see one quick question which I'll answer, and then I want to turn it over to Chancellor Molloy because we are running out of time now, but there is a question about whether or not this is recorded. Yes, we are recording this and we are going to be making it available, and students will be able to see this on our rutgersondemand.com site. With that, I will hand it over to Chancellor Molloy. Do you have some closing words for our families tonight?
Yeah, of course, I'm happy to do that. And I want to thank you all for being with us for this hour and applying for the university. And I really hope you can, hope you find your way here. This is, again, as I said, this is a very unique time. And someday, those of you who come to Rutgers will all talk about the time when we joined Rutgers in the pandemic and how really the world is changing, and we'll be at college when we go through a lot of these changes and project how things will be quite different as we come out of the other end of this epidemic. There's no better place, no better university actually in the country, in my opinion, than Rutgers to do something like that at. You know, we are the big public in New Jersey and the big public in the New York area. And, you know, as an alum, I'm a very competitive guy and know that, you know, many of our programs, if you compare us to our peers, are in the top, in the very top. In the humanities and the history and many of the sciences, we are as good or better than any of the universities that are very famous in the country. The other thing, though, I know this is a big decision and a big investment for families. And really, it's very important to me that we provide a way for students to see the benefit of their education while they're here, to get experiential learning, to get a taste of what it's like to be in the real world. And I'm very committed to making sure that we have these career opportunities for students and really develop them in entrepreneurship in a variety of different ways. So I know that this is a highly unusual year. I wish you all the best. I know that we're all struggling being home right now. The weather is getting better. The pandemic will go away. We will be safe. Rutgers will be here. And we really love to see you because we're all about the students at this university. That's what it's really all about. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for that assurance and for your words and for your time this evening. And I want to thank Brian as well for being here for financial aid. We know that, you know, we might not have gotten to your specific question. Just know that our staff is here to help you. You can reach out to us on the admissions website to live chat one-on-one with admissions officers. You can email us at questions@admissions.rutgers.edu. You can email Brian's office, the Office of Financial Aid. There's a contact form, so you can be in touch with his staff. And so we're here for you now and through your time at Rutgers. So we want to thank you so much for joining us and spending this time with us. And we do hope to welcome you to Rutgers, New Brunswick in the fall. So everyone take care.
Yes, thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too.